Welcome to this episode of Role Models. We're at the New School, where inside I'll speak with Christen Clifford, feminist performance artist, writer, curator, professor, actor, and mother. Christen Clifford teaches at the New School's Eugene Lang College. Christen, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here.
So here at the New School, you teach performance art, contemporary feminisms, and you've taught what is rape culture.
Yes.
Tell us about these courses.
I teach a class called The Body in Performance Art, and we talk about the long history of body, and especially the female body in performance art, and recently, and especially today, most recently, the Black body in performance art. I talk about artists like Carolee Schneemann, Vito Acconci, Dred Scott, some younger artists like Yana Evans, Jodi Lin-Ki Chow, are artists that I really admire. And I love teaching Bell Hooks, who's one of my favorite writers. And in contemporary feminisms, I'm really trying to give the students a background of what feminism is and why it matters. Some people might take a little with putting the S on feminisms, because if you put an S on feminism, then you are letting people who really aren't feminists claim feminism as something of their own.
And also, there have been different waves of feminism, which are very different from each other.
Well, people talk about the first wave of feminism with the suffragettes and the suffragists, and the second wave of feminism basically after the birth control pill in the 70s with the sexual revolution. And so we have the right to vote, and then we have birth control and abortion and the right to take over our bodies. And then people talk about the third wave as being from the 90s. And I actually think that we are in a fourth wave of feminism right now.
Tell us about the course, What is Rape Culture?
Is a course that I proposed because I am very interested in fighting rape culture. And I'm very interested in sexual justice, to fight patriarchy and fight the systems that we live in that let so much sexual assault happen, that accepts rape as a normal way of life.
Something that women will have to accept and learn to deal with.
Yeah. I don't want young women to grow up thinking that. I'm still going to the same protests that I went to when I was 20 years old. We're still fighting for the right to abortion.
Yeah. Let's talk about your work, because you have this amazing body of work. One of your major projects is a fashion accessory.
Yes, it's called the Pussy Bow, and it is what I call a feminist action disguised as a fashion accessory. And I had this internal camera. I was kind of live streaming. Those images are these very beautiful, abstract, pink, even blue. So one of the things I did was print it on silk. The Pussy Bow is named because in France, in the 20s, you would put a bow and a bell around your cat. So that style of blouse with a bow is called a Pussy Bow blouse.
Tell us about Wolf Woman and Goldface.
Wolf Woman and Goldface are two recent performances that I've done about transformation. Wolf Woman is partly about maternal instincts. It's about technology and kind of wanting to get back to the primal. Goldface is a performance I did in reaction to Trump being elected. I was thinking about Trump Tower and how my mom had taken me there when I was younger, and I was excited by it, and how I love gold things and I love shiny things, and that he's kind of like, he's ruining gold for me. Like, he's ruining shiny things for me. And I was also thinking about Joseph Beuys, who's an artist who's worked a lot with social sculpture, and a piece that he has done called How to Explain Pictures to a Dead Hair. But instead, I am talking about women's rights and women's rights in the age of Trump. It's about capitalism and patriarchy.
Speaking of, why are actions like I wish Ana Mendieta was still alive necessary?
I wish political performance art wasn't necessary. We wish Ana Mendieta was still alive is necessary because I wish she was still alive. I wish we had the joy of seeing her art as a 60-year-old artist. I wish we had the joy of seeing her mature. We need women's stories told. all women's stories told.
And we need women's lives to not be threatened because they...
Yes. We need an end to sexual violence. We need an end to capitalism. We need an end to imperialism. We need an end to white supremacy.
Tell us about Period Piece.
It was an evening celebrating menstruation and art about menstruation. We had an art historian talking about the use of menstrual blood in art. I collected menstrual blood. I did something called the Menstrual Symphony, where I mixed blood with fake blood and paint and had two men in that and pressed their bodies against paper, as Eve Klein did in the Monotone Symphony.
You're currently working on a documentary about your experience with cancer.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
I was diagnosed with uterine and ovarian cancers. One of the first things I thought was, I'm going to document everything.
You had a hysterectomy.
Yes.
How has that affected your life and your work?
It has affected how I feel about femininity. It's affected how I feel about gender, and it's taken that to a space that's lived experience in my body instead of just intellectual. Instead of intellectually thinking and talking to trans friends about feminism and femininity and all of those differences, that I have a lived experience of that now.
What words of wisdom would you impart to the next generation or those to come?
To take yourself really seriously all the time from a very young age. To not worry about what men think of you. To listen to yourself. I don't know. I feel like the great thing with age is that you can be like, F it.
Exactly.
You know?
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Role Models. I'm Lucia Grillo. We'll see you next time.